Let's talk turtles. Hello, internet, and welcome to Wednesday's Serial, in which I blab about Ninja Turtles because that is what makes me happy. Um, First up, 40 years of Ninja Turtles, making them slightly older than me and not teenagers anymore. Um, this is a lot of little specials with various points of Ninja Turtles, but what makes this stand out from an anthology series like this one um, is that every story is from a different kind of era of Turtles. So there's the old school Mirage, there's kind of the in between Tales of Jim Lawson era of Turtles, and then they start playing with some different things. There's like the Image version, there's a little IDW version, and then they start playing with the cartoons. There's the 89, which they set in with the Saturday Morning Adventures line that's running because that is that version of Turtles. And so they can kind of bridge that gap a little better and they have talent ready for it, right? And then it's like the 2003 Turtles and then the CGI 2013 that had their own comic series. So it's drawn in a particular way. And there was that. And then but it was funny for the 2003 ones, those did have comics, but they played to the show more than the comics versions of that. um Kind of sad they didn't get Peter Laird to do that because he did that bit of Turtles and he had some fun there, and I'd love to see just, I mean, more Peter David doing Turtles. Also, the guy needs money, I don't know. And then there was a bit of Rise and whatnot. They didn't delve so much into like the movie versions of the Turtles, pretty much just the comics and cartoons. um and they didn't do Next Mutation. And oof, I just, it was really cool to see not just um you know, different versions of the Turtles, but see how the art styles came through, see how they were written differently. And it really is a great way to show that like the Turtles has been handled in a way that you don't really see happen with any other properties, I guess. You know, there's a bunch of different versions, and so they have their multiverse by that, but each one is more earned because each one had its own series or some length where it tried to stand its own on the test of time. And the ones that didn't make this, because there have been a few failures, um, kind of stand out and make them more trivially based. And I don't know, I think that's cool. And then recently, you know, a new cartoon's airing, and that one's based on the previous movie. That's the first time it's kind of happened that way. You could argue the later seasons of the 80, well, at that point 90s cartoon was based on the movie because they were trying to directly tie it more to the movie, which was more popular, and that went waning. I don't know. But it's just interesting how to make those connections and see this property has 40 years of history, but in some ways it's a little more rich and dense and interesting than, say, the last 40 years of Spider-Man or something, which I like a lot of it. I'm not saying anything against it. I'm just saying the way that they've maneuvered and not tried to make everything one ball of wax helps. um Black, White, and Green continues. This is a lot of fun, and it's bringing back kind of that early energy of Turtles where it's just trying to be good comics and let comic creators do their thing. And I'm appreciating that. Next is 15 of the Saturday Morning Adventures. This is going. These continue to be entertaining, but I'm kind of wondering if the steam's running out. I'd rather pick up another book at this point, maybe. I don't know. I'll keep going for now. Uh, and then Untold Destiny of the Foot Clan concludes. And this had some interesting momentum. I'm kind of curious to see how this carries forward with the new era coming in. But I don't know. This might have just been kind of a bit of a placeholder and to move some of the secondary characters and keep tabs on them as we move into a split of new books. Speaking of, read Alpha recently, but Turtles 1 proper is here. And it's Aaron. It's not a bad book, but this is an issue that has Raphael in prison. But we find out that the warden knew that he was in prison under a certain guise of something. But then the warden dies, so he might be in prison for real. And he's trying to get to the bottom of something. And that's it. And this is a plot I've seen before in movies and TV, and I'm pretty sure Aaron heard it somewhere, but I can't quite place it in my mind. But Aaron's done a lot of stuff with prison, so it feels like uh something he would have touched on before. I don't know. It's kind of, it's not that it was poorly done or anything, but it is a bit rote. And this is the first issue of the new Turtles. It's 100% Raphael. And where's the other turtles? And I mean, it's obvious questions, but it's also just kind of a limp start. I don't know. Hopefully, the book evolves to something more new and interesting. I know each issue is supposed to be each of the turtles doing their thing, but this also makes the Alpha issue stand out like a sore thumb in a weird way, too, because that was like Donatello and what he was doing in a big plot way. And now he's going to have another issue before, and it just, I don't know. I get the instinct to want to like develop the four turtles in four corners and bring them together to kind of have each one earn their place or whatever it is, and it's a nice number so you can bring four plots together, all that. But I don't know. It's a little limp. Uh, here's hoping it gets better. And then there was Drawing Blood issue 4. This is dealing with a lot of fandom and how people interact with things like the Ninja Turtles and whatnot, especially when they're a little too into it. I wouldn't know anything about that. Uh, and seeing it kind of from the creator's side and whatnot, and how some things can be maneuvered and how the fans can be maneuvered in some ways. But I genuinely feel if everybody in comics fandom read this comic, the entire space would be a little bit of a better place because it's a pretty sharp look at all of those angles. And I think we could all use a kind of check like that. So please, at some point, pick up Drawing Blood, read it if you haven't. Um, I'm sure a trade's coming soon. Check it out. Great book. So that's it for Turtles. Keep reading more comics.